is a vast, almost entirely uninhabited and undeveloped territory that's sitting undefended in a key strategic location between the United States, Russia, and China. That's exactly where it is, right smack in the middle. Wasn't important nearly when we gave it back. You know, when we gave it back, it wasn't the same as it is now. It's not important for any other reason, you know, everyone talks about the minerals. There's so many places. There's no rare earth, no such thing as rare earth. There's rare processing, but there's so much rare earth. And to get to this rare earth, you got to go through hundreds of feet of ice. That's not the reason we need it.
All right. For those of you listening on the podcast, that's that baby thing, AI generated babies. It makes me laugh every time. Our guest co-host, comedy analyst, Sons of the South, Kevin Walling is here, Hogan Gidley. Kevin, be a deconstructionist like you're teaching a graduate seminar. Why is that baby thing so funny? What about it is so funny?
People just love to see babies talk like adults, I guess. I don't know. There was a raft of movies with like babies talking as adults that were fairly successful.
Hogan is the Gene Shalit
pretty well.
Hogan's the Gene Shalit of comedy. He's going to explain this to us all. Hogan, why is that so funny?
Well, funny. I don't know if it's funny per se. I will tell you this. My old journalism professor one time told me when you were cutting packages for television news, two rules. One rule, 2 points. You can't lose with kids and animals.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you both are probably too young to have ever watched the show Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp. You guys ever seen that?
I have not.
Okay, so here's the
Sounds
premise,
like
and
Captain
you'll
Kangaroo
go on YouTube. The premise is very much like this. You mentioned it, babies and animals. It's apes, monkeys, as secret agents, and they just start lip syncing. They give the monkeys like chewy food to eat, so their mouths open up, and then there's human narrators. The whole premise of the show is just watching monkeys talk like humans. Very funny show. I recommend it to you. Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp.
Was Charlton Heston ever a guest star?
No, neither was
Damn
Barbara.
You Ape! Damn you Ape!
They should have Barbara Feldon in as well. Welcome to the morning meeting. This program, Monday through Friday, takes you through the day's news in the style of the network news division, television news division's morning meetings. We're not here to fight like it's cable news. There's no Scott Jennings here, no Scott Jennings type figure, although I do like Scott. We'll just try to explain everything to you. We'll look forward to the day. I'll run through the day book. And then after we chat for a bit, we'd love to have your questions and comments. If you're here on the platform, want to get in on the conversation, whether you've ever raised your hand or not. Someone emailed, one of you emailed me yesterday, said, I only want questions from the regulars. I just like the regulars. And we love the regulars. But we also like new people. So if you've never raised your hand, please do. If you're watching on X or YouTube, let me just give you some advice. Meet me at camera 2. No smack in the chat. Peace, love, and understanding is what we're all about here. You'll see today Kevin and Hogan will pretend to fight at times, but then they'll go out for a Guinness at 11. And I mean AM, not PM. So thank you for being here. Gentlemen.
Hey, can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. That's science.
Yeah.
Did that reverse psychology work with the no smack the other day? Where you said bring on the smack?
I'm still waiting for the algorithmic report, so I don't know. But probably not, because every day there's a lot of smack in there. We're going to talk a lot about foreign policy today, but also Jack Smith is on Capitol Hill. The vice president's going to Minnesota, some 2028 stuff, and a trend about fundraising, political fundraising that I think is super important. So all that coming up. First, the day book in a moment, but a word from a sponsor. Our friends at Cozy Earth. One of you emailed me yesterday and said, oh my goodness, Mark, why don't you talk about the towels more? Because she bought the towels, and she's just like, I'll never buy any other towels. Cozy Earth will say all sorts of things, and they'll sell it all to you because you're a fan of this show. For 20% off, if you go to CozyEarth.com and use the promo code 2WMM, you'll get 20% off those towels, the sheets, the blankets, including the Bubble Cuddle blanket. Another one of you emailed me yesterday and said, Mark, why don't you tell people that the Bubble Cuddle blanket is washable? It is, and of course, if you're going to give one to one of your pets, you're going to want to wash it on a fair amount. So it is washable. It's all 100% money back guarantee if you don't like it. It's all 20% off right now with the promo code 2WMM. Go to CozyEarth.com. Buy what you want. I don't even mention the pants today because it's so obvious you should buy the pants. Start your new year off right and give your home the luxury it deserves. Make the home the best part of your life. Head to CozyEarth.com. Again, use the promo code 2WMM. And when they ask you where you heard about this, tell them Kevin and Hogan sent you. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the day book. Is the president wheels up yet? I don't think he is, because I don't even think he's met with Zelensky yet. The president's in Davos still, had a huge ceremony this morning, which we'll show you some of in a moment. At some point, he will go wheels up to the United States, having had a very eventful time in Davos. The vice president is going to Minnesota today, roundtable with local leaders and community members, then some remarks. I believe he'll take questions from the media. Lots going on Capitol Hill. Jack Smith testifies at 10 o'clock. A lot of buildup from places like Politico about this, but he's already released the transcript, so I'm not sure how much news is going to come out of this. The transcript of his private testimony that he gave a while ago. The minority leader, Mr. Jeffries, press conference at 1 o'clock. AOC and Laurel Lee hold a news conference supporting passage of the Bipartisan Defiance Act. I confess, I don't know. You guys know what the Defiance Act is? Not sure what that is.
Sounds sexy, whatever it is.
It's an extension of something else, but I can't remember what it is.
All right. Ways and Means hearing at 2:30. Lots going on in Europe, even in the aftermath of yesterday's mysterious détente between the president and NATO. A lot of follow-on action. The premier of Greenland, Ms. Newsom, has a press conference in about 2 hours at 11 Eastern time. She put out a long statement yesterday that was relatively conciliatory, upbeat, and forward-looking. The president and Zelensky are meeting. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff at some point today go to Moscow. They were in Davos today presenting on a different matter, but they go to meet with Putin face-to-face. Elon Musk in about an hour and a half is making I don't know if he's ever been to Davos, but he's not a regular. But Larry Fink is interviewing him in about an hour and a half. And some jobs numbers came out earlier today. Paul, those job numbers, like most of the economic data we have gotten lately, were mixed, correct? Is that correct? Kind of like what expected, not great, not whatever. All right, let's start with Greenland. Here is the Politico headline. I think this is an accurate Politico headline. Not every Politico headline I would say is 100% accurate, but 103, this one is. Trump's Greenland gambit has broken brains across Washington. You could say the same thing about Europe. Guys, we've talked all week about this. Here's the one question I want to ask you about the deal. We don't know what's in the deal, which is part of why I don't want to talk about it very much, because we'd be analyzing Casper the Friendly Ghost in the dark. Horrible metaphor. Let's say the deal is what most people say, which is the U.S. is not going to own all of Greenland. The U.S. is going to have access to a lot of real estate to build military facilities. The U.S. is going to have some connection to maybe most favored nation on access to the rare earth minerals. And there's going to be a lot of cooperation to keep China and Russia out of the area. Is that deal, assuming that's what the deal is, Hogan, critics say the president could have had that deal without all of this kerfuffle. Supporters say the thing he got, which he couldn't have gotten without the kerfuffle, is he can do stuff now without approval of the Danish parliament. Once the deal's struck, he doesn't have to go to the Danish parliament to get to do things. And I believe that was the thing the president actually wanted, and I believe he got it. I believe, not sure. So Hogan, could the president have gotten this exact deal or something pretty close to it without the kerfuffle?
No. Listen, this is what's so interesting. We were on live yesterday on this very program, different co-host with myself. It wasn't Kevin. We were kind of live in real time talking about the president's speech, and we were basically saying, I think what's happening here is he lays out this pragmatic case for what he's trying to accomplish. Everyone thought he was going to come in fiery and blustering. He didn't. He systematically, surgically laid out, here's why this is important for us. Here's what we should do. And I demand we get together and have talks. We speculated he'd probably have a deal by the time he left. And what happened? Hours later, after we got off air, he basically announces this deal. It could not have happened but for Donald Trump. And the reason you know that is because people always try to separate his bluster for look at what he does, not what he says. I would argue you can't get to where we want to go without the bluster, without the toughness, because no one's been able to do it until now. It's just virtually impossible. And Europe is kind of a go along to get along conglomerate.
So Hogan, what did he get?
Change the dynamic.
One question. I understand conceptually what you're talking about, but what did he get, as far as you can tell, that he wouldn't have gotten had he not threatened military action and threatened the terrorists. What's a specific
threatened
thing?
military. I don't know if he
Hogan,
threatened military
stop.
action.
What's the specific thing he got? He did. He didn't rule it out. Stephen Miller, his top aide, touted it. What did he get? What's a specific thing he got that he couldn't have gotten?
I think the deal itself is something he couldn't have gotten without being who he is.
Because they would have pussyfooted around and dragged it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like they were.
So he got speed. Kevin, could he have gotten this deal without the hullabaloo, brouhaha, rat-a-tat-tat?
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I think to your point, Mark, one of the things that he got out of this was a focus on Russia and China in the Arctic, something that if he had just called up the Danish prime minister and said, we want to reopen our Cold War era bases, that would have flown under the radar, and we would have reopened those and invested in those kind of, in the Iron Dome that he wants to build over Greenland. But again, the refocusing on Iron Dome, refocus on Russia and China and what they're up to in terms of the lanes, the shipping lanes in the Arctic is something that only came with the bluster. I will also note one of my interesting takeaways was seeing the Secretary General of NATO saying, had Trump not come back for a second term, would you all be spending 5%? He was on with Brett Baer yesterday, actually praising Donald Trump and that kind of bluster to get the Europeans to do something. And I give the president some credit on that front, as does the Secretary General, who's navigated Trump 2.0 very effectively, balancing the interest of Europe and balancing, a president that kind of shoots from the hip.
And hey, interestingly enough, I guess it was NATO in the first time when we were there, Mark, you'll recall, there was a moment where Trump came out and basically said, look, if you're not going to put up your 2%, we're out. We're done with this situation. People freaked out. Everyone there was running around crazy. And then I remember it was Stoltenberg, I guess, pulled him aside in a private room. And I was standing there and he goes, Mr. President, thank you so much. These countries should be doing more. They're not doing it. You're forcing them to the table and forcing them to pay their fair share, which is something I thought the left was for. It was such a fascinating moment. And Kevin's absolutely right here, because in this same thing, we've also heard countless times about how Russia is crazy for going after Ukraine, which I would agree with, but their aggression must be stopped. But for some reason that Greenland didn't count in that Russian aggression. And because now news stories have floated around about China and Russia going around that landmass trying to figure it out, the heightened awareness and spotlight Donald Trump helped put on Russia and China, as Kevin so astutely pointed out, is a major win for this negotiation.
Only came with that bluster. Only came with that bluster.
Well, okay, you're both brilliant on this, and I just pat you both on the back. You will not hear this conversation anywhere else that I've heard, and primarily because the media is so hostile to the president. One more, and we got to be tight here because there's a ton of topics to get to. There already are, and there will be many, many more symposia, discussions, op-ed pieces about how the president has destroyed the relationship with Europe, how he's emboldened and empowered Putin in China, how this is a disaster for the United States. Okay. Again, if you don't like the status quo and you're president and you want to change the status quo, you got to break some eggs. You got to flip over some Parcheesi boards. You got to do some stuff. If the critics are right that there's lingering damage to the United States, because he's not the president of Europe, he's not the president of NATO. If there's any lingering damage to the United States, our security, our prosperity, our people, from the last few days around and last few weeks around Greenland and the president's bluster, what would it be? What's the thing you worry about that could be significant damage, not to the feelings of the Canadians, but to the people of the United States? Kevin, what would it be?
My only concern is intelligence sharing, right? If there's any kind of pullback with the Europeans, with Five Eyes, what have you, that would be my only concrete fear.
It's a great one, but of course they have nowhere to go. Yeah. They need us on intelligence, so it's a good one. It's a very good one, but I don't think it's going to happen. Hogan,
I think some of the leaders spelled it out where they said, "Listen, keep messing around with us, and we'll just have to go to Russia and China." Forget the fact that I think that they've been, in large part, funding Russia by buying their oil. So the whole thing is ridiculous. They're trying to protect Ukraine while funding the aggression against Ukraine. But I do think that's where you could see some issues when you begin to kind of muck around with the status quo. They're going to look for other partners and allies. And if Russia and China are willing, that could be a long-term issue. I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But
Go
it
ahead,
could
go
be.
ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
And to Hogan's point, you've seen a bevy of foreign ministers in Beijing from European countries. Ireland was just there. A few other countries
and Mark Carney
were just there in the last 2 weeks.
That to me is the damage. They start buying Chinese EVs. They start doing Belt and Road projects. That to me, but that was true before. But man, the United States better get these countries to stop going to kowtow. But of course, Trump's going to go kowtow to Xi, or at least summit with him.
Won't kowtow to Xi, but understand this too. The operation we did in Venezuela, which is what, 85, 89 minutes, whatever it was, Chinese officials were in Venezuela at that time, working out partnerships and deals. And Trump goes, yoink, I'm just going to take Maduro out.
Yeah.
With Chinese anti-aircraft technology, Chinese anti-radar and aircraft technology on the ground.
Yes. All right, Ukraine. We got to go because we got a ton of stuff to get to. Again, raise your hand if you want in. Witkoff and Jared, as I said, are going to Ukraine or to Moscow. The president's meeting with Zelensky. Zelensky's speaking at Davos. Witkoff said there's only one issue left to resolve. Now, the two big issues have been the security guarantees for the Ukrainians from the United States and from the Brits and the French and others, and then the territorial issues. Now, I don't know which, I couldn't determine by showtime which of the two issues Witkoff is basically saying is resolved, but there's a degree of confidence today from American officials higher than it's ever been that there'll be a deal. Not saying there'll be a deal, but it's higher than it's been. Hogan, are you this morning, one word answer, bearish or bullish that there'll be a deal?
Which one's the good one?
The bull.
Yeah.
Bullish.
Yeah.
I get confused with that too.
Yeah. Just imagine the Wall Street bull. That's how you remember.
No, I know. I'm just messing with you, but bullish.
Okay. Bullish. Kevin?
Bearish.
Okay. I'm like a hybrid bear bull. Witkoff made me bullish, but I just don't think Putin's ever going to do a deal. So we'll see. All right, again, we're going to move on from that.
And that Zelensky meeting just wrapped up. It was under an hour.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm sorry, I forgot to share. Before we, sorry, go ahead.
No, just similar kind of diplomatic telegraphing based on the meeting under about a 50-minute meeting.
I forgot to show one thing. I should have shown it on the front end, but I want you to see it. This is the president answering a question about this matter after the big ceremony this morning. Here's the president.
What is your plan for Ukraine, sir? What is your plan for Ukraine? What will you say to Vladimir Zelensky today?
As you know, today I meet with the president and we'll be discussing it. We're meeting with President Putin today or tomorrow. And some people are going over. And I think they're getting close. A lot of people are being killed. We got to get it done. If we don't get that done, it would be a disgrace.
But you have failed so far, Mr. President. You've failed to bring peace to Ukraine.
Mr. President, what are you going to do with Yemen? Only two EU countries.
It was the loudest, most chaotic presidential scrum I have ever seen.
Thank you very much.
We didn't hear it in that exchange, but he came out and before he could even answer, I think that's the only question he answered. The reporters were just screaming. No one would yield. It was crazy. Board of Peace event this morning. If you didn't watch it live, you'll never be able to go back and recreate. It was an incredible thing. All these foreign leaders, almost none of whom I recognize because they're the B team of foreign leaders because the A team countries don't want to be part of it. Putin wasn't there and Netanyahu wasn't there. Putin and Netanyahu share one thing in common. They're both considered war criminals, and if they leave their country, they could be arrested. So they didn't come. But lots of foreign leaders there. The president spoke twice. Witkoff and Jared, because of course they were involved in the Middle East deal as well as their current work on Russia, Ukraine. They both spoke. Jared was incredibly impressive. You had a slideshow. It was quite something. Here's just a little bit of it because I want everybody to see it for history. Here's the president entering the Board of Peace meeting. 107, please.
Please welcome the chairman
you guys name any of those
Board
leaders?
Peace,
Look at that group.
the President of the United States of
It
America.
looks like the
Donald
7 train.
J. Trump.
The outbound 7 train. It looks like to me. You guys know it? Can you guys name any of those world leaders? No, you can't.
I mean, is that Orban? Is that Viktor Orban in the blue?
No.
Time?
Yeah, good.
There's
Yeah,
Donald
could be.
Trump.
Yeah, Donald Trump.
There's
All right.
Donald Trump.
Yeah,
We recognize
all
that
right.
one.
So here's Jared, part of Jared's slideshow 108, explaining what happened in phase one, how much food aid and other assistance there's been into Gaza, and what their hopes are going forward. And then he urged the international community, social media, cynical observers, to give peace a chance. 108, please.
So the countries have all been incredibly generous. We'll be doing the first conference where we'll announce a lot of the contributions that will be made in a couple weeks in Washington. From the private sector, there'll be amazing investment opportunities. I know it's a little risky to be investing in a place like this, but we need you to come, take faith, invest in the people, try to be a part of it. And then finally, I'll just talk to people on the media and on the social media, which is this deal only happened because we worked with Israel, we worked with Turkey, we worked with Qatar, we worked with Saudi, we worked with Egypt. I mean, everyone worked together. We worked with UAE. We all worked together to make this happen. I see a lot of people trying to escalate, criticizing Israel or Israelis criticizing Turkey or Qatar. Just calm down for 30 days. I think that the war is over. Let's do our best to try working together. Our goal here is peace between Israel and the Palestinian people. Everyone wants to live peacefully. Everyone wants to live with dignity. Let's put our efforts towards promoting those who are doing the work to build this up, like Ali and his committee. Let's focus on the positive stories, and let's just calm down, turn a new chapter. And if we believe that peace is possible, then peace really can be possible. So we're going to continue to work every day. We need all of your help to do it. And again, I just really want to thank President Trump for his leadership in doing this. This would not have been possible without your commitment to this.
All right, I don't read the chat, but I glanced at it. I feel bad how cynical some of you are about this. This is an incredible achievement for the world. Even a commentator on the BBC said this is an incredible achievement. And he's otherwise pretty hostile to the president about other matters. Kevin, what are your hopes for the Board of Peace?
Well, listen, you just saw Jared channeling his inner Mark Halpern saying, take a breath and then take 4 more breaths. And let's take a beat on this.
Probably stole that from me.
Yeah. I think this is part of Trump, and Hogan knows this way better than I do. Trump has always had a fascination with the UN. He tried to redo the building back in the 80s. I think this is a realization of and a frustration with the Security Council. You've got China and Russia with vetoes on that, and wanting some kind of international body to take action when it comes to peacemaking. Yeah. And this $1 billion entry to be a part of it. I think it is to some degree the B team, but you got the Saudis involved. You got Argentina, you got, a bevy of countries that have said they'd be a part of it. Putin wants to be a part of it if we unfreeze his assets. I don't think that's a great idea. And that's obviously why the UK and France have said no. But this is the fascination of Donald Trump. This is a legacy play in his second term. And he really is viewing his second term through the lens of this foreign policy focus, where he's ending wars and he's building up people.
Hogan, if you were the communications director for the Board of Peace, are they doing a good job of explaining to the American people why there's a Board of Peace?
Well, so far, it's pretty new, and I'm glad that they're having the conversation with the international community. They need to sell it here at home as well. That's always part of this deal. It strikes me, though, oftentimes in Washington, D.C. and international bodies, you'll appreciate, I believe it was the monorail episode of The Simpsons, where they were going to do a blue ribbon commission to study it. And it kind of pans through the crowd and was like, oh, blue ribbon. That's the best kind. He's like, oh, aren't I appeased? It cut from character to character. It's like, oh, that's the best kind of committee. Yeah. This is much different because Donald Trump does like results. And while there are often committees stood up just to figure out next steps and do studies and all this kind of crud, they put this group together and said, we're going to try and bring peace into so many different places. You're going to see some of the outcomes of this. I think it was a good move by Jared and the president. And one last thing, little known fact, I did Jared's makeup for his Time magazine cover.
That is a little known fact and a significant one in American history.
It's true.
When did Jared have a cover?
It was during the first admin.
Abraham Accords?
I was working with him quite a bit on some things.
Abraham Accords?
I think it was leading up to that. I don't think it was actually,
okay.
I don't think it happened.
I don't remember that.
Was Ivanka on the cover too, or was it just Jared?
Just Jared.
Just Jared.
Wow, just Jared.
All right, Jack Smith is testifying on the Hill this morning, and Politico again built it up like it was just going to be this huge thing. First of all, mandatory prediction: will this hearing get more than 5 minutes of live coverage on any cable news network today? Yes or no? Yes, which one?
100% yes.
Which one?
All of them.
All of them.
Again, this guy's been a mysterious kind of shadowy figure, right, in the background, and the fact that he's testifying before Congress, absolutely.
Hogan, do you agree?
It'll run.
I think so, but obviously for different reasons. Whereas some networks will say this guy's the villain.
Yeah.
Some people will say this guy's the hero.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will see. I mean, I'm of course ready to be wrong. I just think there's too much news.
It may be a few seconds over 5, but it's going to be over 5.
Okay. Here's my question. Again, play acting time. You're the comms staff director for your side in this hearing.
Hate these.
Okay. But then you can go second. Kevin, what if the Democratic members of the committee said, what is it, the House Judiciary Committee? Is that who it is?
House Judiciary. Yeah, Judiciary.
If you were the minority staff director with a comms specialty, what's the goal? What do you want the headline to be out of this hearing? Because the notion that Jack Smith said, I had the goods on Donald Trump and I that's why I indicted him. Is that an achievement if that's the headline?
I mean, I think the American people have generally moved on. Obviously, they gave him a second term.
Yeah.
But again, it was interesting.
What headline would you be going for if you were the Democratic staff director?
That Jack Smith doubles down and says, all these indictments were, he would do it again if given the opportunity, which is he's already telegraphed in his deposition, which is now public.
Yeah, that's what I think. Hogan, what were the Republicans want the headline to be? Jack Smith, a crazy, wild-eyed zealot doing the bidding of Nancy Pelosi?
No, I think it's a further extension of it'd be more corruption exposed by the Biden administration going after targeting political opponents. That's what I'd go for.
Okay. The Clinton thing is still
interesting that this is the Republicans calling him up too. It's interesting to me that they want to go down this Jack Smith path again.
I agree. It's not a great issue for them.
If they don't, the right flank is like, what are you guys doing? We put you in power to bring these people forward, hold them accountable.
I guess, from accountability.
I don't have polling on this, but my spidey sense is that the right hates Jack Smith more than the left loves him, because the left is disappointed that he didn't send Trump to prison, and the right just hates him. So in that sense, I can understand why they might want Jack Smith back in the news. Jacks up the base, as Hogan suggested. The Clinton thing's going to play out. I think the Clintons' lawyers are going to continue to go back to Comer and try to negotiate before they get indicted or go to the pokey. Here's my question. You had a number of Democrats on the committee vote for the contempt citation. 8, I believe, for Bill Clinton, 3 for Hillary Clinton. Even though the leadership, including Hakeem Jeffries, came out against it and told them not to. Now the question is on the floor, how many Democrats will vote for it? So 2-part question, I'll break it up in separate parts. How many House Democrats will vote for the contempt citation on the floor? Just give me a number, Hogan.
Oh gosh, how many voted for him? How many voted for this in committee?
8 for Bill Clinton, 3 for Hillary.
Democrats, right?
Yeah, all the Republicans voted for.
Yeah, there could be.
How many on the floor, Hogan? Give me a number.
18.
18. Kevin?
I think more than that. I'm bullish. Like,
I do
I'd say upwards of 50.
Yeah.
Again, it's they've got to play their politics well in their district.
But that's my question for you, Kevin. What is the politics? What's in it for them? Because they're voting with Republicans. Like, is it about an Epstein thing? Is it about a general accountability thing? Is it hostility to the Clintons? Why? What's the politics that makes them? Because I'm not so cynical. Maybe they're voting yes because they believe in transparency and accountability and fairness. But if it's political, what is it?
I think it's that. I think it gives Democrats cover to say, if there's prominent Democrats on that list, go after them. If there's prominent Republicans, go after them. And it gives good cover for them to say, no, we're not holding back anyone, including former presidents and former secretaries of state, former standard bearers of our party.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the leadership really does whip it and it gets to 50. That'll be quite something. And
they're so pregnant on the no one's above the law thing.
Yeah.
They're going to have to try and let some of their members, put that stake in the ground. I would say though, this is where I was just thinking because of the committee. A lot of times they'll say we'll vote it out of committee, but on the floor, we won't vote for it, right?
Yeah.
So we can say we did this.
Yeah.
We voted for it before we vote against it. So that's why I'm saying if 8 voted for it in 8 Democrats voted for it in committee, I'm going to go half that on the floor is 4, and then I just added that into a few of the caucuses.
Yeah, that's what we call South Carolina math. I will say that not the 8, they're not like in battleground districts. Like they're in safe districts. I don't know if all 8 are, but at least some of them are.
I think one of them was Ted Lieu. Somebody can fact check me in the chat, and he's part of House leadership on my side.
He defied Hakeem Jeffries.
So,
all right, Vice President's in Minnesota today, as I said earlier in the day book. He comes amidst. Yes, sir.
Hold on. It does point to this too. I think the relevance of the Clintons is so diminished, quite frankly, on the left, that they're okay taking shots.
No question.
10 years ago,
not just on the left, but in the party in general.
That's what I mean.
No question.
Sure.
And let's be honest, there's some Democrats who think there's something there with Bill Clinton and Epstein. I'm not saying there is. I'm just saying there's some Democrats on the Hill who think there is. Okay. A person in detention in ICE in Texas now his death has been ruled a murder rather than a suicide. That's getting attention. Court rulings and discussions about ICE and whether they can go into homes without a warrant to arrest people. That's in the air. ICE going into Minnesota, Maine rather, and people in Maine gearing up to replicate what Democrats have done in Minnesota. And the vice president, by all accounts, is going in to praise ICE officers and not to back down at all. Kogan, what's the vice president's goal today? Is it to rally ICE? Is it to unify the country? What would you say his goal is today?
Yes, is the answer. I think it is incumbent upon this administration to really drill down and push back on a lot of the narratives that they're just rounding up American citizens willy-nilly, but point to who they are picking up. I've heard so many Democrats say they're not even picking up people that are bad. They're just picking up. He needs to systematically outline, here's who we are picking up. And my argument several shows ago, which I stand by now, they need to bring these people to the public square and say, this is a child rapist. So we could either deport them or we're going to send them to your house or your community, whatever you'd like for us to do, and make them make that decision. Because right now, the administration I think, has an opportunity here to expose exactly who they were getting out of the country and also bring forward more information about the victims of these crimes as well, even though you don't want to hurt their privacy, all that. I get all that. But I'm saying it needs to be about the American victims versus the illegal alien criminals, 70% of whom have been convicted of crimes already, and they're the ones they're getting. They need to do a better job of making sure the American people understand exactly what's at stake and who they are picking up.
Kevin.
I mean, I agree with Hogan in terms of the nature of what the administration has to do. Obviously, polling has shifted a bit in terms of people's views on ICE and immigration writ large and the president's standing on that. My question is, there's upwards of 11 million undocumented folks in this country. I think a lot of Americans are scratching their heads and saying, why are you going to Maine of all, why aren't you focusing on Texas, Texas, Florida, California, where, that there's larger hotbeds of these folks. Because again, every day that there's, a story of a 5-year-old preschooler getting picked up on his way back from school, that guy being dragged out in his underwear from his home, that does real damage to, the perceptions of ICE. And I think the administration has to do a better job to Hogan's point of putting a spotlight on some of these folks that they're rounding up. The president tried to do that in the Brady briefing room the other day with the signs that he held up and the mugshots of these individuals. But again, I think, the vice president has a real duty today to figure that out on behalf of the administration. We'll see if he's up for the task or if he just doubles down on the rhetoric.
Well said. Well said by both of you. All right. Just a new New York Times poll out today. Interesting release date. The president's 1-year anniversary in office was 2 days ago. For some reason, the Times held their 1-year poll till 2 days later. Here's a top round result, which will not be welcome in the White House. Go ahead and put that up. Do you think the country is generally better off than it was a year ago, about the same or worse off? And you see Republicans 73% better off, 3% Democrats say better off. But obviously the independents are heavily with the Democrats because only 32% of respondents in this poll said that they're better off, and almost 50% say they're worse off than they were a year ago. Interesting. All right, we'll look at more at that poll either later in this program or tonight on Two Ways.
Those are some Biden numbers, Hogan. I don't know. I'd be a little worried.
Yeah.
Well, the numbers are less concerning to me as to the motive or the why. Why do they think? And if you can figure that out via polling, then you can begin to drill down.
Kamala Harris. Just kidding. Hogan, they think that because they're worried about AI and their incomes and lingering inflation. I don't think it's any mystery. ICE extremists.
Inflation's way down.
It's down, but it's not disappeared. All right, I could show you 100 clips of Gavin Newsom from Davos. Last night, his event was canceled by the White House because they didn't want him to use the platform that administration officials have been using. And of course, Newsom made hay out of that. This morning in his final Davos event, he spoke to Ben Smith of Semaphore about a bunch of things. And this one's interesting. Again, I could show you 5 sound bites, but we're just going to show you one. He basically has, been asked, why this is not a new topic. Like, why do you use social media in a just Trumpian way? Aren't you, wrestling with a pig? Here's what Gavin Newsom said. This is pretty compelling to me in terms of the substance, but I want you guys also to look at the style here. I continue to believe that he's not coming across as unshifty. How about that? This is 109, please.
I suppose, do you think post-Trump there's a path back? Because you see this everywhere, the kind of insult politics that you're doing here, which you said you don't really enjoy it. You kind of seem to.
I just putting a mirror up. No, you got to. I was doing my 10-point plans before, and I don't think any of you would have been here this morning had I done that.
Oh, they would have been here.
No, because it wasn't working. No, everyone's trying to figure this guy out.
How do you, a Mark Carney crowd.
Yeah, no, but it's how do you communicate? How do you respond to this moment? And for me, it's about iteration. It's an entrepreneurial spirit. It's a very California mindset. You got to keep increasing the number of tries. And I was trying everything, wasn't working, wasn't breaking through. Democratic Party, writ large, wasn't breaking through. And we decided the only way to address Trump is quite literally to fight fire with fire. I did an initiative, Prop 50 in California. It was to reflect the fact that Donald Trump called an American politician and said in the middle of the decade to the governor of the state of Texas, I am entitled, Greg Abbott, to 5 seats, and I need you to redraw district lines, mid-year redistricting, to rig the 2026 election before one vote is cast. What the Trump administration expected we were going to do, as good Democrats do, we might write an op-ed. And we may, all go out and just say, this is just so wrong, and all of us would be applauding and say, yes, yes. And, as he's consolidating power. Instead, we went out and we redraw our maps. And we also drew a line in the sand. And I think that's what's required at this moment. And
so people can have different views about this attitude, this strategy, this tone. As my grandfather used to say, some people even like chocolate ice cream. So this is subjective. I considered his tone for the whole week to not be effective. That's my ears and eyes. I thought being overseas and criticizing the commander-in-chief sounded a little whiny, a little off key, and I just didn't see this as great. I will say, people I respect, I thought it was fantastic, and I will also say, no other Democrat, not even Governor Shapiro, could have done what he did this week. So he's an aircraft carrier. Hogan, take your partisan sip aside. Did Gavin Newsom have a good week in Davos, a bad week, or doesn't matter?
Okay, I'm going to answer it this way. It doesn't matter, but it does matter to a subset of the Democrat Party, which is going to be picking their nominee in 2028 soon. I was having a conversation with my mother last night, and she was saying how horrible Gavin Newsom was. I'm like, I agree. He's the best liar I've seen since Bill Clinton. He's one of the biggest buffoons I've seen, he and Tim Walz together. It's shocking to me to watch him try and meander his way through these things. However, a large portion of California loves what he's done there. They're fine with the high taxes. They're fine with people leaving. They're fine with open air drug use. They don't care. So what I'm saying is, going to a foreign country, and you hit on it, he didn't just criticize. He said, European nations, stand up to America. What are you doing? Stand up to America. It was so weird. But I think it matters to some Democrats because they want to see some fight that Donald Trump had on the right. Yep. They need somebody in a parallel position, and Gavin Newsom offers that to them.
Yeah, Kevin, that was very nuanced what Hogan just did. Top that.
Yeah. No, this is why the governor's number one on your list, right? Mark,
Yeah.
for 2028.
For
This is
being the
what
nominee.
for being the nominee. This is, to Hogan's point, what Democrats want to see. It also, to some degree, gets under the president's skin, right? Who was the only Democrat that he really name checked from the podium was Gavin Newsom in that audience. So it's good politics for the governor. It's good politics for the president because it riles up both sides of the base. Gavin is a great enemy for the right and for MAGA. And the same is true on the left with the president and trying to get under his skin. And, the photo that, went around that the governor's team tweeted out was him kind of standing in the shadows with the light on him behind Susie Wiles and the rest of the cabinet as kind of I'm here, I'm putting a stake in the ground. And that's what Democrats want to see, at least, in terms of the agitated parts of my base.
All right, I'm revising my position. He had a good week. And maybe the tactics and the strategy are okay. I just think
no one else on your list. No one else on your list was there. No one else was.
Well, Bashir was there, but although he's not on my list currently, I'll tell you what the negative I see is he's not as quick on his feet as he thinks he is, and he had, you saw it in that clip. It's just he stutters and staggers and he's like his rival Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. He doesn't want to make a mistake. He's not.
He's
speaking,
very calculating. Very calculating.
But he talking about trans athletes, or I'm talking about this criticism about that I'm downplaying Trump's gutter level. He picks his way through the answer in a very self-conscious way, and I think that's foreshadowing trouble as pressure comes on him. Hogan.
All three of us know this individual I spoke to this morning, and they made the point to me. They said, "Now I've seen it and I can't unsee it." With Gavin Newsom, they said, "Watch." Everybody he's interviewed by, whether it be Ben Shapiro, Ben Smith, whatever, he always agrees with the premise of their question.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I know where you're coming from.
Exactly.
I get it. No men
and
women's sport. I get it. I get it.
Totally great point. And that's adjacent to what I'm talking about. This is not organic. It's too calculating, and people can see it. All right, two quick topics then to your questions. Rahm Emanuel says, headline for this is 116, I think. Rahm Emanuel proposed yesterday that you can't be in a federal government job after your 75th birthday. I think that's what he said, right? 75?
Yep.
If Rahm runs for president, that would preclude him serving a second term. So he's now term limited himself, which seems like a bad idea. Voters don't like that in my experience. Hogan, is this a good? If he wants to be the Democratic nominee, leave aside the substance of it, leave aside the general election. Here's the New York Times headline: Rahm Emanuel calls for age limits of 75 for president, Congress, and judges. Is this a good gambit to become the Democratic nominee?
No.
I mean, voters don't care.
No, I don't think so, because all 75-year-olds aren't created equal. And I'll just a quick anecdote. I remember being in the White House for the 4 years I was there, and I was thinking to myself, I'm 20 years older basically than everybody that was working in my office, thinking to myself, this is a young person's game from a physical stamina standpoint.
Yeah.
But you need the mental maturity of someone who's been around the block a few times. So it's a hard, mix to make. And so when you have someone like Trump who's wide open all the time and has the experiences, that's good regardless of age. Someone like Joe Biden, his age showed so much that was difficult. If you're older than 75 and you can do the job, fine. I don't care.
Kevin, if he takes this on the stump and goes to a town hall in Iowa or New Hampshire, are voters, is this going to be a crowd pleaser to a town hall of Democratic activists?
I think so to some degree, but Nikki Haley tried to float this during the last primary and it went nowhere, right? She wanted cognitive tests and mandatory retirement. He's channeling his inner Pope Paul VI, who put down the mandate that all bishops should retire by 75, turned in their letters. We'll see if it goes anywhere, but I do think that Rahm is putting in the work. He's going to places, these second and third tier cities, especially for Democrats. He was in Mississippi. He was in Palm Beach, the other week. And he can be kind of the intellectual heft. He's a really smart guy when he talks about education policy. This is what obviously got a lot of the attention, the term limits. But I've got some money on Rahm putting in the work and making a name for himself this early on, and he's got nothing to lose.
I don't think this one's a winner, just so you know. I mean, I don't think it's a negative.
The term limits or the ending, but the mandatory retirement.
A hard age limit, because as Hogan said, there's 75-year-olds who shouldn't be ruled out. It's just too arbitrary. I think it's probably unconstitutional too. All All right. I'm just going to tell you about an article. We're not going to talk about it because it takes too long. Article in the Hill. We'll put up the headline and somebody will put the link in the chat. The small dollar donations to both parties have gone down since inflation took off in the Biden years. And it's bounced back a little, but not fully. It's a huge development in politics at all levels, including the presidential, because raising small dollar donations has revolutionized how fundraising works and the amount of money people can raise. So we'll maybe talk about it tonight, but go read the story. It's a very important story affecting what's going on. All right, here we go to your questions. As always, please unmute yourself as you come in. Croft, you're first. Tell everybody where you are and what's on your mind for Kevin and for Hogan. And Croft, thanks for being part of Two-Way. Try again. You unmuted and then muted. There you go.
Hi there. Thanks, guys.
Croft, tell everybody where you are if people don't know.
Oh, yeah, thank you. In Calgary, Alberta.
Yes, sir.
So what I'm curious about is Mark Carney's trying to differentiate Canada over to China. In the 1970s, Pierre Trudeau said famously, in Canada at least, the relationship with the United States is like a mouse being in bed with an elephant. The mouse is very aware of the elephant, and the elephant really doesn't care much about the mouse. So is with what Carney's trying to do is stand up and be very diplomatic and all that, does Trump care? Is there some way, because it has such a big economic impact, the relationship deteriorating?
Yeah.
What's the right way for Carney to be handling it? Because to me, he seems to be pulling us away and becoming friends with the Chinese, who really aren't very likely to be good friends. And we do 70% of our business with the Americans. So how should Carney and Canada be dealing with this?
Yeah, Croft, it's a great question. And I know from my time in Canada, there's just an asymmetry. The people of Canada know way more about the United States than the people in the United States think about Canada. And I find informed Canadians know more about American politics than most Americans. There is this asymmetry. Carney came to the Oval Office not that long ago and was given rave reviews for his standing up for Canada, but also managing the president's concerns and ego in a pretty brilliant way. He's a very smart guy, Mark Carney, but it's a tough position for him. And being the toast of Davos, he got name-checked in a negative way by the president yesterday. And at the same time, the president doesn't hold grudges in most cases, not in all. But if it's in the interest of the United States to deal with Mark Carney in Canada, he will. Hogan, how should Mark Carney handle the president going forward after what is clearly some tetchiness between them after this week?
As I've long said, the one thing Donald Trump loves more than a day one immovable supporter is a convert. If he can get them to convert to his way of thinking in some form or fashion, it's because he did it. Okay? It would behoove these leaders to stop the reflexive action of, like, when you're in the doctor's office and they hit your knee with the little hammer and your knee just goes up involuntarily. It's like Trump says it, against it. Trump says it, it's like the hammer is against it. They need to decide to come to the table on a lot of these things. And what you've noticed in Davos, I think, is the president kind of pointing out to the world the sheer volume of money that we shell out that other countries don't. And when he name-checked Mark in a bad way and he said, listen, just remember, you're kind of nothing without us. That's not necessarily untrue from a global economic standpoint. And I think he reminded the world, here's what we've got. Here are our abilities to help you out, not just in your own countries, but globally too. Let's figure something out. It would behoove these leaders to come to the table and say, all right, what you got? Let's figure out how we can work together, as opposed to reflexively doing the knee thing, as I said, and just saying no because it's Trump.
Kevin, we give you one of those Burisma retainers. The Canadian government hires you 50 grand
I think
a month.
those retainers were 80,000, not 50.
Hey, I'm done talking about Hunter Biden, hopefully for the rest of my life. But
Go ahead.
Croft, it's an excellent question that you posit in terms of what Mark Carney can do. I think one of the things that's happening that's under the radar, I don't know if it's public yet, but you all are getting a new ambassador to the United States. I don't know if he's been named yet, but he's a business guy from New York. He's obviously Canadian, but has spent a lot of time on Wall Street working in DC and can talk Trump's language. And I think having a new emissary after replacing your ambassador who's been here for a long time, who's a career diplomat, I think is one of the key things that Mark Carney is doing, where he's putting a business guy to interact with a business administration and level with them on the economic
breaking,
front.
Are you breaking that as news, or that's known?
I'm pretty sure it's known, but obviously the current ambassador has announced she's stepping back. And I do think it's widely known that who's going to replace her is a business guy who spent a lot of time in New York. Yeah.
All right, Croft, great question. Thanks for being part of Two-Way. Quick word from a sponsor, then back to you folks for questions. Other sponsor today, CB Distillery. Promo code 2WMM, 25% off all their products. If you want to sleep better, deal with discomfort, pain, feel better in your own skin, go to cbdistillery.com, promo code 2WMM. A lot of options there for stress relief, for pain relief, and for some for mood. Over 2 million customers have used the products of CB Distillery, and it comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. So give it a try if you're ready for better sleep, less stress, and feeling good. Go to cbdistillery.com. Use the promo code 2WMM. 25% off everything on the website, cbdistillery.com. Right now, if part of your New Year resolution is to get more and better sleep, try this. It's worked for many. Again, over 2 million customers have used the products of CB Distillery. Again, cbdistillery.com, promo code 2WMM. Thank you for your attention to that matter. Luke, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for Kevin and for Hogan.
There we go. They forgot to unmute me. It's nice to talk to you again, Mark. It's also nice to talk to Hogan. I'm sorry. You look like Frank Sinatra for some reason. Today. He's got that look.
He gets it all the time.
Take it.
Yeah.
Brat Packy.
No, I just wanted to talk about what was going on with China and Canada because, I was watching it a couple of weeks ago. The problem is this, I think Canada was hoping for a lot better reception from what they were getting, and they really didn't. President Xi didn't come to the airport to pick him up. They talked for a while. I mean, the only big things that, Canada came in with a bunch of things to talk about, and none of them really got taken care of. And the EV thing is very big, but the problem is the only EV company I think that has opportunities and things going on now is Tesla. So Tesla is probably going to be the biggest winner out of all of this by shipping their cars from China. And we already talked to the mayor of Ottawa. He's already angry because that's just killing their auto machine factories right now, which are really having huge problems in Canada. I mean, Canada is having a lot of job problems right now. And I think the only thing that Canada really got out of this, which I think a lot of people are happy about, is that they got 60-day and 90-day visas for free. So they can go to China anytime they want, which I think a lot of BC Chinese people will be happy about. But it's really, I don't know, people are realizing it's just that China is a fine partner, but I wouldn't put all of my weight into China. China's a lot of people, one of the things they talk about Americans is that they love that when they talk to Americans, when they make a deal, it's a deal. Everything's flat out told. Everything's fine. Things like here in China, they'll say, oh, we'll take care of that, but not now. And then they'll never really give you, they'll kind of black box everything that they do. And that could be a problem, especially for companies who have quality control questions and issues. So I don't know what Canada's going to get, and I don't know what the EU wants to get from them. So.
Okay. All right, more good framing of the situation. Kevin, thoughts or questions for Luke?
Yeah, Luke, I think you frame it perfectly. And I think, there was all this hope of these kind of middle countries and developing countries in the Belt and Road Initiative, and the curtain's up on that in terms of what China extracts from these countries. There's no longer this real interest for these countries to have that kind of level of investment in infrastructure, in transportation, in mining rights and things like that, based on what they've seen out of Beijing and the fact that they're right. raping and pillaging these countries that agreed to these to these deals. So that economic interest is no longer there. To your point, Luke.
Well, I mean, the Belt and Road has been kind of good for some. So for some countries, it's actually been very, very good. But for others, it's just been pillage and take. I mean, there's a couple of places that have, like airports that have been taken back by the Chinese that are now in Chinese control. And there's some other great things that are going on. Like in Africa, it's been amazing. They've been opening up tons of different railways and highways in many of the countries, which are helping in the industrializing some of the other areas of the southern Africa. So.
Hogan.
But at what cost, though? That's the question, Yeah.
Hogan.
Yeah, I think China's in a lot of trouble economically, as is Russia. They're viewed as some international superpowers, which they are, but they're a lot of it is kind of a ruse. I think their one child policy has them behind the eight ball on population. Russia has an older population as well. They've got a lot of issues there economically that look on paper, you think, oh, this is great. When you start to dig below the surface, you realize a lot of it's built on sand. So I think partnering with them is in the short term may show a little moxie of some kind, but I think in the long term would be problematic for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah, Luke, thank you. Mallory, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind for Kevin and for Hogan.
Hey, I'm calling in from South Carolina today. And some of the things I wanted to touch on were things that I feel like
Mallory, you're Greenville, aren't you? Aren't you from Greenville?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We love that.
Oh, yeah. We're getting ready to have a really fun ice storm this weekend.
Yeah, you are.
It's going to shut it down for like a week, probably. So one of the things, and this could just be my algorithm, it could be I'm noticing these things more and more, but I feel like I'm seeing just an increasing, I'm a big public land proponent. Like I love our park systems. I love the way that we've maintained the integrity of a lot of our lands out west. And I just saw yesterday the House passed a bill. It's going to go to the Senate now to allow, I believe it's a Chilean company, to mine in the border waters, which are one of the last protected waters. I think they're on the northern part of Minnesota between Canada and the United States, to get copper. So they're basically going to pollute the waters and then take the copper and take it, I think, ultimately to China. I don't really understand why that's been passed, but it's really starting to bother me because I'm seeing these like EPA regulations are being rolled back, and I feel like all of it is being done in the name of profit margins and big business. And when you have 44, billionaires who have been appointed into these federal, appointee spots, you've got all these tech bros that are and the pay for play politics. I'm feeling like I'm seeing less and less care for the American people. Like my health insurance, and I don't get subsidies there at all, but like my health insurance for my private health insurance is $2,200 a month for a catastrophic plan. My deductible is $8,000 for one person. And we can afford it, but it's awful for us. And I think there's got to be people who will just choose not to have insurance. And I think that's terrifying. And then I look at the grocery prices, like drug prices went up again in January. I think there were something like 350 medicines that increased in January. And I just feel like we're focusing so much on what's happening everywhere else. And I don't feel like I feel like the billionaires, I think it was the top 10 billionaires made $360 billion in 2025. And people here in the United States can't afford health insurance. Our EPA regulations are being rolled back. We're going after our pristine lands, our public parks, water's being polluted. They want to use fracking water in Texas to water our crops. I just sort of I'm overwhelmed. But like I feel like those things aren't getting enough traction in the media because there's so much happening.
Well said. Hogan, thoughts briefly?
The fight for this next election, both midterms and 2028, will be over domestic policy. Foreign policy rarely shapes national elections unless it's something that's ongoing and that we have people in theater at the time. Your concerns about drug prices, you're concerned about healthcare, so are a lot of Americans, and that's something I think that this Republican Congress addressed. Donald Trump worked out deals with no favored nations or favored nation statuses as well to bring prices down. This will be an issue that will be litigated many times over between now and the midterm. So a lot of people are where you are. I expect people to address it moving to the next elections.
Tens of millions you speak for, Mallory. Kevin.
Amen, Mallory. We talked briefly about that Times Siena poll. Only 34% of Americans think the president is doing enough on tackling cost of living. To your point, everything's going up more expensively, and the fact that there's an optics issue and a feeling. There's a feeling issue,
things,
right?
Yeah.
Many things, and perception is everything, right? And gas prices are at a great cost right now, right, in terms of the price. But if folks aren't feeling it, there's going to be a reckoning, I think, with Republicans in Congress come the midterms. To your point, because the frustrations are real, and to Mark's point, you speak for millions of Americans.
Yeah.
Mallory, go ahead, real quick. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, and I just want to also say my private health insurance plan, if I look it up on the South Carolina exchange, it's about $400 or $500 cheaper on the exchange than it is to have it privately. I mean, that's no subsidies or anything.
Yeah,
So just
understood.
FYI, I feel like we talk a lot about that, but like
Yeah,
it's actually
interesting.
cheaper for me.
Yep. Every state's different. Mallory, thank you. All right, real quick, folks, I need to tell you about a bunch of stuff, including a special announcement. The group chat live today, Emma Jo, Nina, and Robbie, joined by Chris Hahn of the Aggressive Progressive Podcast. You guys big listeners of the Aggressive Progressive Podcast? Anyway, Chris Hahn joining the group chat 4 p.m. Eastern Time for a conversation like no other. Two great guests on Two Way tonight with me at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, two former members of Congress. Former Democratic Congressman Joe Cunningham, former Republican Congressman Garrett Graves joined me at 6 o'clock tonight. Moynihan Report at 7. This program's on tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And our guest hosts tomorrow, Jamie Harrison and Matt Gorman. That'll be a blockbuster episode. Not that today wasn't. And finally, big announcement here at Two Way. Our new CEO has started, and the story of his announcement broken today in Deadline. Joe Ruffalo, our new colleague, our new leader, is now the CEO of Two Way, and we couldn't be more excited to have him here. You can go read the story on Deadline by Ted Johnson about Joe's background, but he's got a long time experience in media, in the business side of things.
Joe's the best in the business. Best in the business. This is a big deal for Two Way.
Kevin has worked with them. He's worked at all sorts of places, at The Hill, at ABC News, and many other places. And it's going to take us to a new level. And as I've told you for several weeks now, we have a bunch of announcements coming about this program, about Two Way tonight, but also about a lot of new programs with great partners across the country. And we're looking forward, under Joe's leadership, to bringing them all to you and to having you all have expanded opportunities to enjoy two-way conversations like no other in a variety of formats. Politics will always be part of what we do, but Joe has a great vision for expanding, as we have from the start, into lots of other conversations and categories, including the game show, which is my favorite two-way program coming soon. So stand by for all of that. And again, congratulations to Joe, and we're glad he's here. Thanks to Hogan, thanks to Kevin, thanks to all of you. I will see you at 6 p.m. tonight. And I just a little spoiler, but not a full spoiler. I'm going to pull a Katie Couric over the next 24 hours. So please join in and see what I mean. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. See you later.